Hey, it's Dave here from metaformula.com, and in this video we're going to be talking about MetaStock 16, all of the different features and things that have changed, just so you can decide if it's worth doing the upgrade and going to be right for you. For those of you who have been following along what I've been doing, I've been a long-term supporter of MetaStock over the years. We've definitely seen in the trading space software come and go. New things seem to pop up all the time, but what I've liked most about MetaStock is it's just remained consistent. It's been stable, and it does exactly what I need it to do. And they've sort of just grown stronger over the years, connecting with some of the biggest names in sort of the trading world, and having them load indicators, explorers, and systems directly into MetaStock, including my old business partner, Stuart McPhee. He's even got an indicator and explorer in there. As far as their history is concerned, they've been privately owned. They were owned by Reuters, and now they're privately owned again. Through that time as well, we've sort of seen a little bit of controversy around the way that data providers were being handled, and when they were taken over by Reuters. For a little while there, you were forced to use Reuters data, but that's kind of changed now, and I'm still very much behind what MetaStock has been doing. I haven't actually changed the main components that I've been using in MetaStock for years. I really focus in on the Explorer. That's the primary tool that I use because it enables me to scan the market and find the trading opportunities that are meeting my criteria, and then I analyze them using the indicator builder and also the expert builder. I was never really a big fan of using their backtesting software. For a little while there, I was using CompuVision and the software TradeSim that they had, but I haven't heard too much from them in a little while, and I'm not too sure if they are doing the updates. For me personally, though, a lot of my trading systems have changed. I've kind of moved to that longer time frame. I'm not in as close doing the day trading these days. I just kind of hold these longer term positions, and that kind of really complements my lifestyle now and what I'm doing with business and family and those sorts of things. But this particular webinar is all about what's changed in version 16. We haven't done a video like this over the last few versions of MetaStock and having their updates. So I've got Hunter from MetaStock here who's going to kind of take us through some of the different improvements, and I want to go maybe just a little bit further back through the last couple of versions. So firstly, Hunter, welcome to the webinar. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, first off, thanks so much for having me, David. I'm excited to talk about MetaStock 16 and kind of the advancements that we've made, and in all honesty, catching up from older versions of MetaStock. I could go on for hours, but I'm gonna keep it as short as I can. A little bit about the history. You kind of alluded to it a little bit. We were owned by Thomson Reuters for quite some time. Throughout that process, we were really kind of unable to have as much creative say in the route that MetaStock took as far as programming, etc. We had to make some decisions as far as data is concerned. MetaStock about 5 years ago was purchased privately by by Scott Brown, and essentially, really, what we wanted to do is break down what people enjoyed about older versions of MetaStock, like many of you using MetaStock 11 or previous, and we wanted to really take all of those features to the next level, and we wanted to add some really cool tools that we've been working on for quite a few years now. So MetaStock 14, let's say, for example, we debuted a new tool called the Forecaster. We redesigned MetaStock quite a bit.
Keen to see that one in action.
Yeah, no, I'll take you through it in a couple of minutes here. MetaStock 15, I tell you, that was a real big advance for us, because one of the things that people wanted to do was really be able to maintain and use their own data source. I may be a little bit partial, but I think Thomson Reuters data is very, very good. I think it's very fairly priced. However, there are a lot of data providers out there that provide good data as well. And, there are a lot of individuals that use it. Now, in the past, when we were owned by Thomson Reuters, we had to kind of step away from that framework of people being able to use their own data. But MetaStock 15 came along, and we were able to really get back to the basics and allow clients to use whatever data source they want. So that was probably one of the biggest features in MetaStock 15 is bringing back that ability to use local data, and you can also use it offline. So being able to jump on a plane wherever you're going and download all your data previous and still do all your analysis even without an internet connection. So it's a fairly big deal, as I'm sure you can imagine, for MetaStock.
And then for 16 is the most recent release.
It sure is. MetaStock 16 just came out. We released some big things in 15, some major advances. One of the things that we wanted to do with MetaStock 16 is more of what we call a quality of life upgrade, meaning we want to take the things that you do use daily, for example, the things you've been doing for years using MetaStock, David, and we want to simplify that process. So we brought a few things to the forefront. We took a lot of our suggestions from our clients, and we put basically as many of them as realistically we could into MetaStock 16. Being able to add favorites as far as your explorations. You can now have a list of your favorite explorations that you use daily. You can have a list of the favorite system tests that you use daily right there at the top so that you can access them very quickly. Another thing we've done is added in what's called a most recently used indicator list. Now, MetaStock over the years has always had a reputation of having just a ton of indicators. Well, we've added even more, and we realized that you had to scroll through, 300, 350 indicators just to find the ones that you use consistently. Well, now in MetaStock 16, the last 25 that you've used will automatically populate to the top.
Yeah. Yep. So it sounds like a few of these sort of features are, just around usability and making things a bit easier. I can see there as well, you got some additional pattern scans in there, additional systems. You know what I'd love to do? I'd love to be able to dive in and I suppose just talk through a little bit of a scenario about the way that I use MetaStock, and I think that'll probably be able to uncover the changes probably that would most affect me selfishly.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it's all right with you, let's jump into MetaStock and we'll have a little bit of a look. So I think I mentioned right at the start, I mean, the primary thing that I'll do is use the Explorer feature. So I'm wanting to find charts and trading instruments that meet my criteria. I'm more of a long-term sort of follower here. So maybe if we can just, if you can walk me through, let's run an exploration. We can see, I can already see a little bit of a difference and a refresh in the way the Explorer is looking, but let's try and find some long-term system that we can run, because I'm kind of more trading longer term. Let's kind of focus in. It's good. I can see you've already got the ASX 200 there. So let's focus on the Australian market. And then maybe if you have some sort of price filter or something that we can filter out, things less than, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 bucks, 50 bucks, something around there. One thing I did see as well, I saw in one of the previous versions, is about this pre-filter, which I've not spotted before. What exactly is a pre-filter compared to the way that just normal explorations work?
So pre-filter is going to work basically like an exploration in itself, but it's meant to take a really large number of stocks and whittle it down to some very basic requirements. Like you were saying, if you're a trader that focuses on stocks that are within the $20 to $50 range, pre-filters are going to help you do that, and they're super easy to write. Some of our systems actually come with pre-filters. Some of our candlestick systems actually come with pre-filters that have very basic either pricing or volume requirements that are going to weed out all of, for example, like pink sheets or things that have really, really high volatility, stuff that you want to stay out of as more of a conservative trader.
All right. So we've got the pre-filter here. We've got the instrument. Let's have a look at even just something long-term like the Equus. I think Equus has a long-term one that I've used in the past.
Bullish, probably.
There you go. Perfect. Okay. Let's drill into that.
Yeah, so we have a couple of explorations lined up here. knew I was jumping on here, so I already selected the ASX 200. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start the exploration. First thing I want to do is make sure that my my scans are actually running in the correct order. So you'll notice that you have two scans here. I want to make sure that I'm running my pre-filter first. So we're setting up kind of a drip system. And then I'll take the ones that do meet that $30 criteria, and then we'll scan those for a long-term bullish signal. So go ahead and start it. One of the things that we've really wanted to concentrate on MetaStock 16 is kind of giving you all the information that you need while your exploration is running. So I can see how many rejects I have. So this initial pre-filter scan is doing a great job of breaking down that 200 stocks right off the bat. And then it's going to take that list and it's just going to run it through.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so we have 13.
Yep. Oh, cool. And you can kind of see what the rejects are above there as well. So pre-filter knocked out most, and then the Equus filter knocked out the next round. Okay, some pretty familiar names there. Let's jump into Zero. I've been watching Zero right down the bottom there. I've been watching that one quite some time. A New Zealand-based software as a service company that's come across and listed over here and had some tremendous growth. I think they're trying to go head-to-head with MYOB in the States. If they break the States market, then they'll be a rocket ship. But they're looking pretty good at the moment anyway. So
yeah, they are.
Let's I mean, it's always easier when everything's just going up, but good it came up with that particular Explorer. Usually the way that I'll do my analysis, it'll start off with running an Explorer, which basically gets things into my watch list. And the Explorer oftentimes finds things that have that long uptrend. The underlying trend is quite solid. And then I'm using indicators and things over the top to then look for when my entry signal is. And that's where I'm applying things like some of the expert advisors and things like that. And then I just look for my entry and then I go ahead and place my trade. I don't know if there's probably anything here that's going to jump out at me that's sort of epically changed in the most recent version in the way that flow works. I know there's the forecaster, but is there anything else of note going through my process?
Expert advisors are always going to be a very, very good route to go. I know that kind of my process, it's very similar to yours. I don't have the time to take a ton of trades. So I do like kind of the longer term positions. So I use the explorations to find a stock that's moving one direction for a long period of time. And then I'll throw in an expert advisor real quick just to show me what signals. Sometimes I use a MACD, especially if I'm looking for a longer term signal.
Yep.
Throw in an expert advisor and it gives you the signals right away just for the MACD, for an example.
Yeah,
We have a ton
you kind of get a feel just even looking for that. They've got like any good indicator, it's not necessarily picking the exact bottom there. It's like it's got the reversal, but you can see quite a lot of where those green arrows are. It's like it's turned and then it's picked relatively good entries on a much longer term uptrend. So that's looking good. Now, the one that I think is probably most controversial, and I'd love to just understand a little bit more about, is the way that the forecaster works. That was the one. So I have seen a little bit of that, and you gave me a little bit of a sneaky peek at it. So this came out in version 14, was it?
It did, yes. And we've actually done a lot of work to it since then. And it's progressing, just like any good tool. It is progressing, and we're putting a lot of time into it. But it's pretty revolutionary. But I have to be honest with you. A lot of our clients will look at it, and initially they'll kind of think to themselves, "Wow, it's a forecast tool. That's cool. That's great looking." But a lot of individuals, they think that it's supposed to be some crystal ball, and as you and I both know, there's no such thing as a crystal ball. Otherwise, we'd both be on a yacht right now. But that we did put the forecaster together as a tool that can be used a few different ways, and I'm more than happy to show that to you.
Yeah, let's dive in. I'm always dubious when it comes to forecasting because I think the biggest takeaway, I've probably even got I think just about all of these books down here, all of them are saying, you can't predict what is going to happen. So I'm just interested to know how this might be used. And I think one thing you mentioned, and it kind of stuck in my head from earlier, you had said that it's not, this is obviously not designed to be a complete trading system in itself. So let's say I'm going through my regular process, running a scan, finding things with long-term trends, keeping them on my watch list, setting up looking for that entry signal using the indicators, and then I'm about to make a decision, or maybe I've got a couple of trading candidates, but my capital's limited and I need to make a choice between which trades I'm going to take. How might something like the forecaster help?
Yeah, of course. That's actually exactly where it comes in, is right at the end of your trading process, where you have a few trading opportunities. You want confirmation signals. We all want confirmation signals. There's nothing that's going to be 100%, of course, but we want as many things pointing in the same direction as humanly possible. Kind of the basis of what the forecaster does is it takes what we consider major technical events, things like candlestick patterns, 52-week highs, MACD divergences, etc., things that are mathematically quantifiable, and it says, okay, have these events happened before? And if they have happened before, what has been the result? So it takes those technical events and it combines all the information, and it gives you a visual representation of what the price movement has been like when those events have happened in the past.
So is it crunching at all of that data, or when you jump into, let's say, the forecast cloud, which is that other tab, that's a visual representation with it crunching all data? Yeah. Yep. Okay. Very cool.
So the first thing that you look at is the event marker. So these aren't, one of the big questions I get is, are those buy and sell signals? They're not buy and sell signals. They're just event markers. In other words, we have 52-week high.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So these are 52-week high data points. We've had a few of them recently. This is you then go over to the forecast cloud tab, and this is a visual representation of what the instrument has done when 52-week highs have happened in the past. So what we're looking at on the left side, we're looking at price change, percentage price change. At the bottom, we're looking at that price change over time. So day one is right when the event happened. And then on the right-hand side, you're looking at basically a heat scale. So in other words, the confidence, the higher likelihood. I can't say probability because the tech guys will yell at me if I say probability, because that indicates that there's a set number of outcomes.
So if I'm interpreting this data correctly, so let's say we've got that second little hotspot that's happening sort of between the 60 and the 90-day frame. And then we've got the percentage gain based on all of those different factors. We're kind of looking at somewhere between anywhere, I don't know, you're probably looking at a 10 to 25% gain over sort of that 50 to 90-day period is statistically what's happened when crunching a whole bunch of data. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Basically, to break it down, the 52-week high has actually happened 56 times in the last 6 years. And it is saying that based off of 56 times that it's happened, there is about a 60 to 70% likelihood that the price is going to be in that range 80 days out, 70 days out, right around that time.
Now, before everybody goes out and piles into zero, thinking that it is going to be golden goose and we've got a short return there, I mean, for me, the takeaway here would probably be um, the forecaster would allow and help around the money management side of things, particularly the stop losses and thinking, statistically how things are heading and maybe how closely or tightly you set stops and maybe give you some expectations as well. That's how I would interpret that, but nothing in this world will ever replace good money management and making sure that you keep tight stops and the ultimate decider as to whether or not you should be in a stock is price action. And I always find with charting tools and when people start getting too lost down the rabbit hole chasing different indicators and things like that, where I'm like, all that data is doing is interpreting the underlying important data here of the open, high, low, close over a period of time, plus your volume as well. So that nothing should substitute for that. I don't know if you have any comments around the forecaster, but I just wanted to caution up front.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And here's the thing is every time I talk about the forecaster, I always want to make it very clear that this is not a trading system as a whole. This is meant for, basically it serves two purposes. Number one, it's a great confirmation signal. So if I say I want to go long in XRO and all of my other signals are saying, yes, you should go long, I can come into the forecaster and say, well, a 52-week high did happen not too long ago. And after that happens, has a high likelihood of continuing to trend up after a little bit of a consolidation period. I can feel good about my trade at that point. But one of the things that I actually use it for a lot is determining my trade parameters, because as any professional trader will tell you, once you enter into a trade, you become a trade manager.
Yes.
And as a trade manager, you have to have your trade expectancy. What do you want to get out of the trade? How long do you want to stay in the trade? As you were saying before, where should you put your stops?
Yeah.
Where should you look for the price turnaround? This is a good example. Maybe I'll monitor this stock for 2 months, and I look for a signal right around 60 days that's going to send this skyrocketing up.
Yeah. I think this probably just deserves a little bit more digging and a closer look. I'm just mindful of the time. That I feel like having a look at where version 16 is up to, I think you mentioned there are some of those improvements that are quality of life, making things easier for people to use, especially if they're coming from some of the more recent versions. But if you've got anything probably earlier than about sort of 14, then there are a couple of big advancements. I saw the way that, the Explorer is definitely looking a little bit different with things like some of the pre-filters, and then the significant addition here being the forecaster. So yeah, if someone is looking and thinking about it, depending on what version they've got, it might actually make sense for them to upgrade, particularly around the offline data stuff as well. I know premium data in Australia is another one that's quite popular, and I quite often talk to the team over there. So that might be another reason to go ahead and make that jump. For me personally, I stick with MetaStock, not because it's perfect, and no trading system or platform is, and little bells and whistles come and go, but they've been around for ages. They're extremely well supported, bug-free, and it just works. For me, I'm not a big one to be overcomplicating things or chasing new shiny objects. That said, though, the forecaster definitely does look interesting enough for me to have a little bit of a look at. But I kind of really just focus on what works, and I'm not planning on disrupting my workflow. It's working and has worked well for years, and it's just part of the way that I approach the market. So maybe towards the end, we'll wrap up for now, Hunter. I don't know if there are any final things that you want to mention. And I had a special little offer that I wanted to give people if they were thinking about upgrading, which I'll mention right at the end.
Yeah, of course. Just kind of in summation, we really wanted to focus for the last 5 years. We have really wanted to focus on user-driven upgrades. And what that means to us is, clients come to us and say, well, I think I think you guys should be doing this, or this would really help out my workflow, or you should add these little things into MetaStock. We never want to take away tools. There's a million and one things that you can do in MetaStock, but you're never going to do a million and one things in MetaStock. You have your specific workflow, and the goal with the last few upgrades has been really just to simplify your workflow, what you're doing right now, and then also add in some systems that could complement your workflow now or down the road. That's basically been our focus.
Perfect. Well, if people want to get a free trial or look at upgrading, they can head over to metastock.com/Jennings. That's JENYNS. So metastock.com/Jennings. I will include a link on the screen. I will include a link near where this video is. And the good thing is, if you go ahead and purchase through that link, just email me a copy of your receipt. So you can head over to davidjennings.com, or you can even do it through the MetaFormula website. So davidjennings.com, email me a copy of your receipt, and I will give you a copy of our High Probabilities course. If you haven't seen that, go to highprobabilities.com. It includes the MetaStock Programming Study Guide, the Triple Your Trading Profits course, the Trading Secrets Revealed. There's a whole bunch of goodies. It's basically everything that I ever created when I was working with Stuart McPhee, all bundled into a digital course that you can get as a bonus when you go ahead and trial or upgrade or get a copy of the latest version of MetaStock, MetaStock 16.